The bustling spaceport on Earth was a crossroads for the galaxy's many civilizations, each bringing its unique flavor and chaos. Tom maneuvered through the crowds with practiced ease, his gaze occasionally flitting to the new arrival's gate, watching beings from far-off worlds step into the sprawling complex. As he rounded a corner near his usual cafe spot, his path was abruptly blocked. In front of him stood an alien, her skin shimmering with a subtle iridescence that reminded him of pearls. She looked around nervously, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and fear. "Excuse me," Tom began, stepping to one side, assuming she was lost. "Do you need help?" The alien woman fixed her gaze on him. "I am seeking refuge," she said, her voice a melodious whisper that seemed to carry an undercurrent of urgency. I am in need of someone to provide me shelter. I can work." Poor desperate alien beauty begs Earthling to take her as a servant. Tom paused, taken aback by her directness and the odd formality of her plea. "Well, I don't need a servant," he replied cautiously, "but maybe I can help you find a place to stay. Why don't we step out of the crowd first?" He gestured towards the cafe. Gratefully, she nodded, and they made their way to a quieter corner of the cafe. Once seated, Tom tried to assess her needs. "I'm Tom, by the way. I make musical instruments, traditional ones, from Earth. What's your name?" "Mira," she responded softly. "I am from Yalith, a world on the brink of collapse due to our depleted resources. I escaped, hoping to find a new life here, but everything is so different, so overwhelming." Tom's interest was piqued by her story, and her mention of craftsmanship caught his particular attention. "You know, Mira, I might not need a servant, but I could use some help in my workshop. I live in a small town by the sea, not too far from here. It's quiet, nothing like this place. What skills do you have?" Mira's face brightened slightly. "On Yalith, I was a weaver. I worked with natural fibers, creating patterns that told stories. I can learn other crafts quickly, I believe." Tom nodded, mulling over the possibilities. "Sounds like you have a good hand for detailed work. My workshop could use an extra set of hands. Plus, I could show you around, help you get used to things here on Earth. Would you really take me in?" Mira asked, a spark of hope lighting her eyes. "I can help with your work, learn your crafts. I want to understand this world, contribute to it." "That settles it then," Tom decided with a smile. "Let's give it a trial run. You help me in the shop, and I'll help you with everything else. It's not servitude, it's more like an apprenticeship. What do you say?" Mira nodded eagerly, relief washing over her features. "Yes, I would like that very much. Thank you, Tom." They finished their drinks, and Tom paid the bill. As they left the cafe, Tom pointed out various landmarks and local spots of interest, trying to ease Mira into her new surroundings. By the time they reached the spaceport's exit, a plan had formed, and a new partnership was beginning. Tom felt a sense of anticipation about the future, curious about the stories Mira's weaves would tell and hopeful about the work they would create together. Tom's workshop was a sanctuary of earthy smells, wood, varnish, and the faint metallic scent of tools. It was nestled in a small coastal town that seemed a world away from the bustling spaceport. As they approached the quaint building, Tom pointed to the various instruments displayed in the front window. "This is where I work," he announced with a touch of pride. "Guitars, violins, and some more exotic stuff. Ever seen a sitar up close?" Mira shook her head, her eyes wide as she examined the intricate carvings on a sitar resting against the window. "It's beautiful," she murmured, tracing the patterns with her eyes. "So much detail, so much history in its shape. Come on in. I'll show you around." Tom led her through the front door into a space that was part workshop, part showroom. The back of the shop was cluttered with tools and half-finished projects. "This is your main workstation," Tom began, gesturing to a sturdy workbench with various tools neatly arranged. "I'll start by showing you the basics of instrument repair and maintenance. Think of it as our mutual learning space." Mira nodded, her gaze lingering on a half-assembled guitar. "I would like to learn all that I can," she said earnestly. "Back on Yalith, my weaving was my life. I want to understand your art here, Tom." "Let's start with something simple," Tom suggested. picking up a small flute with a crack running down its side. This one has a split that needs fixing. I'll show you how to seal it back up. As Tom demonstrated the process, Mira watched intently, her hands eager to try. After a few explanations, Tom handed her the tools. Your turn. Try to apply the glue evenly along the crack. Myra's hands were steady, her eyes focused. Tom watched as she mimicked his actions with surprising precision. Excellent, he commented. You've got a good hand. I think you'll pick this up in no time. After the flute, they moved on to restringing a guitar. Tom explained the importance of tension and the role each type of string played. Mira listened, absorbing every word, her questions thoughtful and insightful. As the day progressed, their conversation meandered from instruments to life stories. Tom shared tales of the town, its festivals, and its quiet winters, while Mira spoke of Yalatha's vast landscapes and the traditions she missed. I never imagined I'd end up so far from home, Mira confessed as they took a break, sitting with cups of tea. But I'm grateful to be here, learning this. Grateful to you. Tom smiled, his expression softening. I'm glad you're here, Mira. It's been a long time since I've had company in the shop. It's good to share the craft. As the afternoon light waned, they tidied up the workshop. Let's make it official then, Tom said as they stood by the door. An apprenticeship, as I said. We'll work side by side, and I'll teach you everything I know about making and fixing instruments. Mira extended her hand, which Tom shook warmly. An apprenticeship, she repeated, a smile spreading across her face. Thank you, Tom. I look forward to our work together. As they locked up the workshop, the evening air was cool and salty with the scent of the sea. They walked back to Tom's house, discussing plans for the next day. For Mira, each step was a step further into her new life. Each note played in the workshop a note of her new song on Earth. The morning air was brisk as Tom and Mira set out to explore the town. Mira, wrapped in a light jacket Tom had lent her, took in the sights with an eager curiosity that Tom found refreshing. First, let's grab some breakfast at my favorite spot. They make the best pancakes, Tom suggested, leading the way to a small, cozy diner near the beach. Inside, the aroma of coffee and syrup was warm and welcoming. They chose a table by the window, and Tom waved to the waitress, who greeted him with a familiar smile. Morning, Tom. Who's your friend? This is Mira, Tom introduced. She's staying with me for a while, learning the trade. Pleased to meet you, Mira, the waitress said, handing them menus. You've got to try the blueberry pancakes. They're a favorite around here. Mira smiled politely. I've never had pancakes. What are they like? Tom chuckled. You're in for a treat. They're like a sweet, fluffy bread. You'll love them. As they ordered, Myra's attention was caught by the different foods being served around them. Is food a big part of your culture here? She asked, turning back to Tom. It is, Tom replied. Meals are a way to connect, share a moment. You'll see, especially during the festivals here. Food brings everyone together. After breakfast, they strolled down to the beach, where the ocean stretched out, vast and shimmering under the morning sun. Mira watched the waves roll in, a look of wonder on her face. It's beautiful, she said. Yalath had no large bodies of water like this. It feels infinite. It has a way of making one's problems seem smaller, doesn't it? Tom mused. I come here often to think, to clear my head. They walked along the shore, talking about Earth's oceans, marine life, and the importance of water in human culture. Tom pointed out seabirds and ships on the horizon, explaining their purposes and the routes they took across the globe. As they returned to town, Tom decided to show Mira the local market. This is where we get our materials, food, everything. It's like the heart of the town. The market was bustling with vendors selling fruits, vegetables, crafts, and flowers. Tom introduced Mira to several shop owners who were curious about her and her origins. Mira handled their questions with a grace that impressed Tom. At a stall selling handmade jewelry, Mira paused to admire a bracelet. In Yalath, we used to craft similar ornaments, she explained to the vendor. We would weave metals and stones into our garments for celebrations. The vendor, intrigued, asked her more about her weaving techniques, and Tom watched as Mira engaged in the conversation with growing confidence. Seems you're making an impression, Tom said as they walked away from the stall. Mira now wearing the bracelet the vendor had insisted she take as a gift. Mira laughed softly. Thanks to you. You make it easier to fit in, to feel part of this place. As the day ended, they returned home, arms laden with supplies from the market. Tom cooked dinner, teaching Mira how to prepare a simple earth dish. Tomorrow, we'll start on a new project in the workshop, Tom said as they ate. I'll show you how to carve wood for a guitar. It's delicate work, but I think you'll be good at it. Mira nodded eagerly. I'm ready to learn, Tom. Today was wonderful, but I'm looking forward to getting back to the work, to creating something beautiful with you. Their conversation lingered into the evening, the barriers of their different worlds melting away with each shared story and laugh. As Mira retired to her room that night, she felt a deep sense of peace and anticipation for the days to come, grateful for the unexpected turn her life had taken. Tom's workshop was bathed in the soft light of morning as he and Mira prepared for a day of crafting. The air was filled with the scent of freshly cut wood, a smell that Mira had come to associate with creativity and learning. Today, we'll start with the basics of guitar making, Tom explained, laying out the tools they would need. It's all about understanding the wood, feeling its grain, and knowing how it wants to be shaped. Mira listened intently, her hands lightly touching the pieces of wood laid out on the workbench. It's like the fibers I used in my weaving, she observed. Each one has its own direction, its own strength. Exactly, Tom agreed, pleased. You're going to carve the neck of the guitar. It's delicate, precise work, but I think you'll handle it well. As Mira set to work, Tom guided her hands initially, showing her how to hold the chisel, how to apply pressure. Gradually, he stepped back, watching as Mira found her own rhythm. The workshop was quiet except for the scrape of tools and the occasional soft thud of wood being adjusted on the bench. How did you get into this? Mira asked during a pause, brushing wood shavings from her apron. Tom smiled at the memory. My father was a craftsman too. He made violins. I grew up in this workshop, watching him work, handing him tools. After he passed, I took over, started expanding into other instruments. It's more than just a job to you then, Mira said softly, understanding more of Tom's connection to his craft. It's a part of me, Tom admitted. Like your weaving was a part of you. They resumed their work, the atmosphere comfortable, the silence between them filled with mutual respect and the shared satisfaction of creating something beautiful with their hands. After several hours, Mira had carved a smooth, elegant neck for the guitar. It's beautiful, Tom praised, examining her work. You have a real feel for this, Mira. Mira beamed, pleased with his approval. I like learning from you, she said. It feels like I'm not just learning a craft, but also learning a new way to connect with this world with you. Tom felt a warmth at her words, a sense of closeness that had been growing since Myra's arrival. And I'm learning from you, too, about your world, your art. It's a good exchange. In the afternoon, they took a break and walked to a nearby cafe. As they sipped coffee, Tom shared stories of the instruments he had repaired and the concerts where they had been played. Mira listened, fascinated. Music is so important here, isn't it? She noted. On Yalith, it was more about visual arts and textiles. Music was there, but not like here. It's universal, though, Tom pointed out. Every culture has its music, its own sound. It tells a lot about its people. As they talked, Mira realized how much she had come to enjoy these moments with Tom, not just working side by side, but also sharing pieces of their lives. She appreciated how he respected her questions, her thoughts, and her eagerness to learn about his world. When they returned to the workshop, they started on another project, this time working together on a new design that Mira had suggested, incorporating some patterns reminiscent of her weaving designs. Let's call it a day, Tom finally declared as the light began to fade. You did great work today, Mira. Thanks for your help and your company. Mira smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment and belonging. Thank you, Tom, for sharing your world with me, for making it a part of mine. As they cleaned up, both felt a contentment, a sense of partnership that was about more than just teaching and learning. It was about connection, about bridging worlds through the universal language of craft and care. The town square buzzed with energy as Tom and Mira arrived to participate in the local art festival, an annual event that celebrated the diverse cultures and talents within the community. Artists, musicians, and craftspeople had set up booths displaying their work, and the air was rich with the sense of various culinary delights and the sound of music. Every year, this festival brings out everyone from the area and even some from out of town, Tom explained as they wove through the crowd. It's a great place for you to introduce your weaving skills alongside your new expertise in instrument making. Mira looked around, wide-eyed. It's beautiful, so much creativity and life in one place. Tom led her to a booth he had reserved under both their names. Displayed inside were several instruments they had worked on together, including a guitar with inlays that featured designs inspired by Myra's weaving patterns. As people began to stop by the booth, Tom introduced Mira and explained the fusion of earthly craftsmanship with Yalithian design. Mira found herself explaining the significance of her traditional patterns, each one a story from her culture. A local art teacher, intrigued by the blend of styles, struck up a conversation with Mira. It's fascinating how you integrate your heritage into these pieces. How does your culture influence your art? Mira shared insights about Yalithian aesthetics, which prioritized harmony with nature and the cosmos. In Yalith, art is a way to reflect the universe's balance. We believe every piece contributes to a larger mosaic of understanding. The teacher nodded appreciatively. It's wonderful to see such thoughtful work. It speaks volumes about the potential for cultural integration through art. Their discussion attracted a small crowd, and soon Mira was answering questions about Yalith and her journey. Tom watched proudly as she spoke with confidence and enthusiasm, realizing how far she had come from the timid alien who had first arrived at the spaceport. Later, as they took a break to explore other booths, they came across a local dance troupe performing a traditional folk dance. The dancers moved with rhythmic grace, their steps telling stories of the Earth's seasons. Dance is another powerful form of expression, Tom remarked. Like music, it transcends words. Mira watched, fascinated. On Yalith, we had dances for the stars, to honor their guidance and light. Seeing this, it's like finding a new language to speak in emotions. Encouraged by Tom, Mira met with the dancers after their performance, sharing her interest in their art form. They invited her to join a workshop the next day, excited to learn about her starlight dances. As the festival wound down, Tom and Mira returned to their booth to gather their belongings. "You did great today," Tom said as they packed up. "You're becoming a part of this community, sharing your culture and embracing ours." Mira smiled, feeling a deep satisfaction. "Today was more than I hoped for. I feel like I'm weaving new threads into my life here, threads of friendship and understanding." Tom nodded in agreement. "It's not just about making a living, it's about making a life. You're doing both beautifully." They left the square under the glow of street lamps, the echoes of music and laughter following them. Mira felt grounded and uplifted, her heart full of the day's experiences and the connections she had made. She realized that while her journey had started with desperation, it was now unfolding into a vibrant tapestry of shared lives and shared creativity. The evening was cool, with a gentle breeze that rustled the leaves outside as Tom and Mira settled in the cozy living room of Tom's house. They had decided to spend the night in, enjoying each other's company after the excitement of the festival. Tom stoked the fireplace, the crackling logs casting warm, flickering light across the room. "This is perfect," he said, gesturing for Mira to sit on the comfortable couch. "A quiet night to relax and just enjoy the simple pleasure of a good fire." Mira joined him on the couch, tucking her feet under her. "It's beautiful. We had nothing like this on Yalith. Fire was always something to be controlled, not enjoyed." Tom smiled, handing her a mug of hot chocolate. "Here on Earth, it's a source of warmth and gathering. It's funny how different things can be from one world to another." They sipped their drinks in companionable silence for a moment before Tom spoke again. "You've brought so much of your world here, Mira. It's been incredible learning about Yalith through your eyes." Mira looked at him, her eyes reflecting the firelight. "And I've learned so much from you, Tom. Not just about making instruments or earth customs, but about being cared for." Tom set his mug down, his expression turning thoughtful. "I felt the same. It's like discovering a part of myself that I didn't know was missing." The conversation lapsed into silence again, but it was a comfortable one, filled with mutual understanding and growing affection. After a while, Mira turned to face Tom more directly. Do you think people can really understand each other, even from completely different worlds? She asked. I think so, Tom replied. It's not just about understanding words or customs. It's about understanding feelings, needs, desires. Mira nodded slowly, her gaze not leaving his. Desires, she echoed, a soft note of curiosity in her voice. Tom reached out, his hand hesitantly touching hers. Like the desire to be close to someone who understands you, who sees the world not just as you see it, but shares it with you, enhances it. Myra's hand turned under his, gripping it gently. Tom, He leaned in, cutting off her words with a gentle kiss. It was a cautious contact at first, exploratory and tender. Mira responded, her free hand coming up to touch his cheek, deepening the kiss as a sigh escaped her. They pulled back slightly, eyes locked. I've wanted to do that for a while, Tom admitted, his voice a husky whisper. And I've wanted you to, Mira replied, her breath warm against his lips. Their next kiss was more confident, fueled by the honesty of their shared feelings. Hands roamed, exploring new territory as they drew closer, the warmth of the fire mirroring the heat between them. The kisses grew deeper, the touches more intimate, each movement stoking the burgeoning desire. Finally, they pulled away, breathless. This feels right, Tom murmured, stroking her hair. It does, Mira agreed, her voice filled with wonder. I was so afraid when I came here, of being alone, of being lost. But with you, I've found something beautiful. Tom smiled, pulling her into an embrace. We found it together, Mira. Whatever this is, we'll explore it together. As they sat back, nestled against each other with the fire warming their faces and their hearts, the night stretched out before them filled with promise. They had crossed a boundary tonight, not just of cultures or worlds, but into each other's hearts, where they had discovered not just affection, but a deep, resonating connection. The morning after their intimate evening, Tom and Mira shared breakfast in comfortable silence, exchanging smiles over steaming cups of coffee. The air between them was light, filled with a new understanding and affection. Last night it was special, Mira. Tom finally broke the silence, looking at her with a gentle smile. Mira returned the smile, her eyes reflecting the same warmth. Yes, it was, she agreed softly. I feel closer to you than I ever thought possible. Tom reached across the table, taking her hand. I'm glad. I was worried it might change things between us. It has, Mira said, squeezing his hand reassuringly, but only for the better. I feel like we truly understand each other now. Encouraged by her words, Tom proposed an idea. How about we take the day off? We could go to the beach, maybe do some sketching or just relax. I'd love to spend the day with you, just enjoying each other's company. Mira nodded eagerly. I'd like that. I haven't really seen much of the beach since I arrived. It sounds perfect. They packed a simple picnic and headed to the beach, finding a quiet spot away from other beachgoers. The sound of the waves and the scent of the ocean filled the air, creating a peaceful backdrop for their day together. As they settled on the sand, Tom pulled out a sketchbook. I used to sketch a lot before I got so caught up in the workshop. I thought it might be nice to get back into it. Mira watched with interest as Tom began to sketch the landscape. May I try? She asked after a moment. Of course, Tom said, handing her the sketchbook and a pencil. I'd love to see the beach from your perspective. Mira took the sketchbook, her fingers tracing the lines Tom had started before beginning her own. She sketched carefully, adding details from her Yalithian background, blending her world with the scene before them. Tom watched her, fascinated by the way her style mixed with the earthly landscape. You have a unique way of seeing the world, Mira. It's beautiful. Mira blushed slightly, pleased by his praise. Thank you, Tom. You inspire me. They continued sketching and talking, sharing stories and laughing together. As the day progressed, their sketches filled the pages, capturing not just the beach, but also small details of each other. A smile, a thoughtful look, the way light played on hair. When the sun began to set, they packed up, reluctant to leave the tranquility of the beach. Today was perfect, Mira said as they walked back to the car. Thank you for suggesting it. Tom smiled, taking her hand as they walked. Thank you for sharing it with me. Days like this make me realize how lucky I am to have you here. As they drove home, the sunset painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, a beautiful end to a beautiful day. They arrived back at the house filled with a quiet joy, the kind that comes from a day spent in perfect harmony with someone you care about. We should do this more often, Tom suggested as they unloaded their things. I'd like that, Mira replied. Every day with you is a discovery. I learn more about you, about us. Tom nodded, his eyes softening. And every day, I find more reasons to love you. They entered the house, their hands still intertwined, both feeling that their relationship had deepened in ways neither had anticipated. What had started as a simple day at the beach had blossomed into a deeper connection, one that promised even more beautiful days to come. As the local festival drew near, the entire town buzzed with anticipation. Tom and Mira, now a familiar pair, were particularly excited. They had decided to debut a special project at the festival, a guitar featuring intricate designs that merged both earthly craftsmanship and Ulithian aesthetic, symbolizing their union and collaboration. In the days leading up to the festival, their workshop was a flurry of activity. This guitar will be something else, Mira, Tom said as they applied the final varnish. It's not just a piece of wood and strings. It's a story of two worlds coming together. Mira nodded, her hands carefully smoothing the varnish over the delicate Ulithian patterns. And it plays beautifully, just like the harmony we've found with each other, she added. The morning of the festival was bright and clear. They set up their booth early, the guitar proudly displayed at the center, surrounded by other instruments that bore the hallmarks of their joint efforts. As the crowds began to swell, their booth attracted many curious onlookers and admirers. It's stunning, remarked one visitor, a local musician who plucked gently at the guitar strings, testing its sound. The detail, the sound quality, it's exceptional. Did you two make this together? Yes, we did, Tom replied, his arm unconsciously finding its way around Myra's shoulders. It represents a blend of my earthly style and Myra's Ulithian heritage. As they talked with visitors, explaining their techniques and the stories behind each design, Mira felt a swell of pride and belonging. She was no longer the outsider looking in, but a vital part of this community and its culture. Later in the day, Tom and Mira were invited to participate in a panel about cultural exchange and artistic collaboration. Seated among other artists and craftspeople, they shared their experiences and insights about working together and learning from each other's cultures. When I first came to Earth, I was lost and alone, Mira shared with the audience. But through art, through collaboration, I've found a home and a voice in this community. This guitar, she gestured towards their creation, is more than an instrument. It's a testament to integration and acceptance. The audience listened intently, many nodding in understanding and appreciation. The local cultural minister, who also attended the panel, commended them. Your work is a powerful reminder of how creativity can bridge worlds. It's inspiring. As the festival drew to a close, Tom and Mira took a moment to walk along the outskirts of the event, hand in hand, reflecting on the journey they had taken together. You know, this festival marks almost a year since you arrived, Tom said thoughtfully. It's hard to believe. It feels like both a lifetime and just a moment, Mira responded. But I can't imagine being anywhere else. With you, I've found so much more than just a safe haven. I found a partner and a passion. Tom stopped, pulling her into a gentle embrace. And I've found a new depth to my life, my art. You've changed everything, Mira. For the better. They stood together, watching the last of the festival goers making their way home, the lights twinkling like distant stars. As they headed back to clean up their booth, they felt a contentment and a sense of accomplishment. Their drive home was quiet, filled with comfortable silence and mutual satisfaction. Once home, they sat together on the porch, looking up at the stars. This is just the beginning, isn't it? Mira murmured. Tom squeezed her hand. Yes, just the beginning. There's so much more we can do together, so much more to explore. And as the stars shone down on them, Tom and Mira knew that whatever challenges and adventures lay ahead, they would face them together, their lives forever intertwined by love, art, and the shared joy of continuous discovery.